everybody. Man Mountain Link here with Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know, now you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared, Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast, and it's me, your host, Jimmy Street, as always, and I am so happy to be here today because today is episode 7 of This Month in Wrestling History with Quinton Quarisma, and Q is covering January. I'm very excited about this episode. Can't wait to hear what Quinton has up his sleeve. Always very entertaining, and we're so happy to feature this show. Guys, I hate to say this, but today we're going to start things off on a sad note. Last week, we got the news that our former guest and friend of the show, Man Mountain Rick Link, passed away. Of course, we had Rick back on episode 91 in June of last year. What a great episode. Rick was awesome. I met him back in a Mid-Atlantic convention in Charlotte in 2024, and we struck up a cool little friendship. Death is so weird when you're a collector of stories, like I feel like I am. That's why I like being a podcaster who gets to interview folks, because you add a little immortality to these guys, even if it's only a couple of hours at a time. It's like they're still here with us and healthy. I've been blessed to interview guys like Kevin Sullivan, Black Bart, of course our buddy Hot Rod Biggs, and now Rick. Rest in peace, guys. Thank you all for giving us just a little bit of your time by sharing your story. Of course, guys, last episode, Chief Jules Strongbow was here for a part 2. Always appreciate Jules. Thanks again for dropping by and telling us more of your awesome story. It's always a blessing to get to hear more from Jules. Of course, he's going to be with our buddy Captain's Corner, Nick, at the Portland Wrestling Expo 2 on Saturday, February 21st, Holiday Inn, Portland Airport, 8439 Northeast Columbia Court, Portland, Oregon. Be there, be square. So many of the guests we've had on this show, and maybe there's more to come. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. So let me say this. If you are in the Portland area, please make your way to this. If you're a wrestling fan and love Portland as much as we do here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, do yourself a favor and drop by. And when you go, make sure and tell Nick that Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling sent you, and we appreciate it very much. All right, guys, one more thing before we get to This Month in Wrestling History, episode 7, and I did talk to our buddy Pastor Rick Reynolds, and he was very happy with the turnout for last weekend's Gideon's Warriors. Of course, it was former guests of the show, Shane Morton, Ben Jordan, and Tommy Phillips, aka Sean Schultz, and Rick said a great time was had, and everybody really enjoyed it. So I'm so glad to hear about that, and can't wait to hear about more of the Gideon's Warriors events coming up soon. I know there's some plans out there, so y'all stay tuned for that as well. All right, guys, y'all ready for This Month in Wrestling History, episode 7 with Quinton Quarisma? I know I am. We'll be right back after these messages on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Hey, my name is Tammy Reynolds. I am the wife of Forsaken Rick Reynolds, that super cool guy that everybody knows and loves. And I represent West Side Sauces. I make sauces, I bottle them, I seal them, I sell them. I have a hot honey sauce, I have a sweet sauce, I have a hot sauce, I have a white sauce that's so yummy you can use it on everything. They are absolutely amazing, and I'm so proud of them. We make them from scratch. So go on our website, westsidesauces.com, check out our products, read about our story, and go online and order you some of these yummy sauces. And Rick actually uses all of the sauces because he is a die-hard smoker and griller. And so he likes really good sauces and rubs, and I make them. So how convenient is that for him? Go on our website, westsidesauces.com, order you some samples, and I think you'll thoroughly enjoy them. Thank you guys. Be blessed.
Welcome to This Month in Wrestling History with Quinton Quarisma.
All right, guys, we're in January, so we're going to go with like the format we did last month, where I'm not going to go in order because I think last time when I did it different, it seemed like it ran smoother for me. So I think we're going to keep this format. So we're in January, and we're going to go with January 1st, 1982. We're going to go to St. Louis, Missouri, the Checker Dome.
Checker Dome.
Yeah. So
now, is there also a Rally's Dome? No, never mind.
I hope so. Them fries, man. Whew,
oh, they're good.
Them fries. So the St. Louis Wrestling Club held the Sam Mushnick Farewell Retirement Show. The attendance was 19,819. Yeah, that's packed. Well, I think the building, the Checker Dome, I want to say it held over 20,000, but still, that's packed,
Yeah.
I mean, this was a big to do, man. They gave me, I think it was like Sam Mushnick Day. They made St. Louis, the mayor, I think they made it like Sam Mushnick Day. The state made it like Sam Mushnick Day in the state. I mean, this was big time. And, because St. Louis, now we've brought up this on several different episodes. How, it was, you got that Missouri title, and especially in the 70s, Missouri title and the Florida title. Those two are you got those, and you're in line for the NWA World title. So St. Louis, it was just a single city.
Okay.
It wasn't part of the Central States Kansas office, but they, it had ties in because at the time, Bob Geigel, Pat O'Connor, Harley Race, and Vern Gagne had percentage of the promotion. It wasn't just Sam.
Okay.
Yeah. So when Sam retired, so those guys, Bob Geigel, Pat O'Connor, Race, and Vern Gagne. So Vern Gagne was actually, I think he went in I think it was like 79. He bought in, but he was more of a silent partner. But he would send some of his AWA guys down there, because St. Louis, I mean, it ran once a month, once every 3 weeks, and it wasn't a weekly town,
Yeah.
So if you worked St. Louis shows, you were good. Those were like the best of the best. The shows at St. Louis. It's what drew for all those years.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so he stepped down, sold out his part. So it basically became part of the Kansas City office, which, from what I read there for like the last few years, Sam and Geigel didn't see eye to eye on stuff like payoffs, finishes, stuff like that. And which you could tell a difference. I mean, there was a big difference between the Kansas City office shows and St. Louis. It started when when Geigel and them took over full time. Race, he was in and out. Because they when he got the strap, he was in and out. So he wasn't there every day, every week like Geigel. O'Connor and Vern, he was worried about his own territory, but he still he was a silent partner, which he didn't have a lot of input. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he had his own thing. So Geigel was the main guy, and I mean, everybody knows Geigel. They say he killed Kansas City territory, which he was over it. So I mean, you got to go with that. And then St. Louis pretty much kept falling off. I mean, you can't have all-star cards in St. Louis with just the mecca talent. Then all of a sudden you start putting Bob Brown in the main events in St. Louis. That's not going to fly.
Right.
You know, and and finally was it 86 or so? Crockett bought Kansas City out bought it from Goggle, and that didn't even last long.
No.
Running it because it then got basically it wasn't dead, but it wasn't St. Louis like it had been forever. So,
wonder what Vern's reasoning for getting into that. I mean, why would he want to get in and be a silent partner?
19,819 people.
I mean, I get that, but but then why would the person selling you the part want to sell that?
Quick cash, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. Larry Madison has had books out about it. A lot of people thought Larry Madison was part of The Office. He was The Office, but from what all I read, he was Office. He was Sam's right-hand man. He was there, he was Sam's guy. But from what I've read, he never had a percentage of the town, the promotion. There's some people said he did, but a few things that he did. But he was the right-hand man. And then was it 83? Him and Geiger just couldn't get along. He branched out and opened up an office in St. Louis, and it ran for like 3 months. I had like the whole run on tape back in the day. It was really good. He brought in Brody. He just brought in everybody that wasn't an NWA guy. He brought in. Yeah, but it didn't last long, and he sold his thing out to Vince and went and worked for Vince a little bit. But I get what you're saying, Jared. I guess
it could have been just for some quick cash. Somebody might just needed some cash flow. I mean,
something I don't know. Maybe it was to get some of the. Maybe Sam saw Vern will send some of his top guys down that
maybe
his top guy. It helped. So I'm thinking maybe. I'm sure Sam and Vern had a good relationship, and so he might have just offered it, because I don't think he had a lot of percentage from what I read, so maybe he said, hey, we start sending some of your top guys down. And, I think it was kind of like a work, just a friendly agreement. Hey, I'll cut you in if you want it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm assuming. Because, what would you need if you're drawing? Because, St. Louis drew crazy money. So why would you need,
why would you need anybody's money, really?
Yeah. And I think O'Connor, was there forever, and Race. And I think, and Guy, I think I think he had those guys in because to help, even though it was only a one town promotion, basically, you need help, and so I'm thinking that's why they were, percentage, but Sam was the majority. So, but if go look up the Larry Madison books, man, it goes into detail all about this stuff. Yeah, that's go to if you ever see those books, read them. I haven't never read them, but people talked about them and stuff in them, and he like I said, he was Sam's right hand man, so I believe what he says and stuff. So
he would know.
He should, right?
Yeah. So, all right. So now we're going to go to January 25th, 1986. We're going to go to Cloverdale, British Columbia. Rocky De La Sera and Rick Davis become the first UWA World Tag Team Champions. This is the British Columbia version of the UWA. This was the Vancouver territory, which Al Tomko ran. He was. I think he was a minority owner, and then with Kaninsky, and I can't remember the other person. So when Kaninsky and them sold out, Tomko took it over full, I think in 78, 79, maybe. Okay. Something like that. And so he took it over. He was part of the NWA. He was, NWA Vancouver, basically. And he didn't kill Vancouver, but when Kaninsky and them left, it dropped off. And it started dropping off talent-wise, he's putting himself over a lot. So basically in 1985, the NWA said, you're done. You're not a member no more. So he said, well, I'm going to start my own world champions. and called the Universal Wrestling Alliance. And so I don't know what the official name was. I think it was like Vancouver All Star or something like that. But a lot of people just called it NWA Vancouver. But then, like I said, when they basically kicked him out. He started up his own. So they were his first world champions. His version. If people don't know Rocky De La Sera, he wrestled for 20 years. Portland, Vancouver, Puerto Rico. You interviewed him, didn't you, Jimmy?
In his very first podcast interview ever.
Yeah.
Cool guy. Yeah. Cool guy. Yeah. I don't know him that well, but very, very nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he worked Canada a lot. Yeah, go check that interview. Is it still out there? They can go listen to it?
It's still out there on the Best of James Rock Street Productions channel. Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, just go check that out because I don't know a lot about it. I just remember him coming to Memphis around 85.
Yeah, he was Gino then, right?
I think. I barely remember. I do remember him in Memphis, but I don't think he was there long.
No.
And I don't know if he was Gino or Rocky, but I do remember him there. He wasn't there long, but he wrestled everywhere. But yeah, go check because I don't know much about him. So go check that interview out. Jimmy will smarten you up.
Hey, honestly, brother, you probably helped me with some of the questions. So
I probably did. Yeah, he's one of those guys. He worked all the Canada territories and everything.
Yes. Yep. So, I'll link the link in the show notes. So
all right, cool. Yeah. And then the Rick Davis guy, I couldn't find much about him. He worked for 4 years and basically just Vancouver after this promotion. And then it says he wrestled. His name was Todd Tomko, which is Al Tomko's son. So that makes sense then. Never heard of him except for there. So
and wonder if Tyson Tomko. No, never mind. Sorry.
But I doubt that too. All right, so we're going to go to January 11th, 1966. We're going to go to Seattle, Washington, and so this is part of the Portland office. And so this is from our Portland fans and Nick and his shindig he's fixing to happen. So we're going to do a little Portland office. Tony Bourne wins the Washington heavyweight title, and he was the last champion to hold this. He was the last person to hold this championship belt because they phased it out. Even though they still, Washington still. Seattle, that was still a main part of the territory still, but they just phased out the actual Washington heavyweight title. So okay. I don't think it was around that long. Like I said, this was 66 when he was the last champion. I think it might have started late 50s, maybe early, somewhere in the 50s. So, but yeah, it wasn't around that long. They phased it out. So,
okay.
So that was for the Portland people. I had to find some kind of Portland put in there.
Of course you do. That's exactly. Don't ever say Quinton Quarisma doesn't love you, people.
All right, so now we're going to go to January 6th, 1978. Lee Fields sells his Gulf Coast promotion to Ron Fuller.
Oh.
So this is going to be the last month of Gulf Coast people. Yeah. So, yes, the Gulf Coast territory, they said, I don't know the tennis numbers through the territory. They say it was down. I don't know, what's down. I mean, they always say that, the territory was on its butt. But it's like, well, 78, they said it's down. But, then they said Memphis, in the 90s was down. We might think that was down to 78. Actually, was probably good to 80s and 90s,
Yeah.
So, but it just, and I think from what I want to say, the Fields owned a racetrack down there, the fairgrounds, because I know that's where they had the Gulf Coast Reunion all those years, and was more into the racing side. So then they said, well, he was losing money. Which I don't see how. I think he just wasn't making as much and was making more on racing. So they found Fuller to buy it. And from what I've read, that Fuller just took the Florida and Alabama towns and didn't do and just left the Mississippi towns.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Which I know let's see, was McGurk and Watts still together in 70? I'm trying to think. I know the Culkins took over some of the towns, but yeah, Fuller didn't want the Mississippi towns. So they must not have been doing that good. Or a lot of people don't realize that Gulf Coast territory, with it being Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, that was a big territory.
That's a haul. Yeah.
Yeah, because they, like I said, I know I've said before, they were running Panama City, Pensacola, then they go up into Mobile, Dothan, which is up a little bit. I don't think they did Montgomery. I think that was still Goulas in Montgomery at the time. I could be wrong on that. And then you go over to Mississippi, you have Gulfport, Meridian, Hattiesburg. So that was the Gulf Coast is a small territory. Yeah, the Florida, Alabama side, but the Mississippi side, if you're going, that's a haul. Panama City, Meridian, Mississippi, that's a haul right there.
Definitely.
And that, I don't know, I think they stopped running Laurel, Mississippi earlier than that, because that was way up. So yeah, he just wanted the Florida stuff because like I said, he was still running Knoxville. He saw the Knoxville territory, but he and his dad owned Gulf Coast before the Fields. He sold it to the Fields. So it had already been in the family. Well, it's all in the family anyway. All the the Welch lineages, 9 million people in the business. Yeah, they all they basically at one time they ran every big thing in the South. But anyway, so yeah, his dad had it before, so he came back and and took it back and boomed it. It started booming. I think because one thing, he kind of cleared house too, because a lot of those guys working for the Fields, the Wrestling Pro, Bob Kelly, all those, a lot of those guys, they've been there for ever. Rip Tyler, Eddie Sullivan, they'd been there forever, and so he came basically cleaned out. There weren't many people that I think he might have kept Ricky Fields just for a little bit, because I know he left and went. He went over and worked in Mississippi. Mississippi some and Georgia Championship Wrestling. I think Ricky Fields might have been the only one he really kept full time, maybe out of that Gulf Coast thing when he bought it out. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So we're going to go the same day. This is January 6, 1978. We're going to go over to Dothan, Alabama. Dothan, Alabama was one of their main towns. And so that was Gulf Coast. That was the Fields' last show in Dothan, was on that same day. Yeah. So now we're going to backtrack a little bit, 3 days to January 3rd, 1978 in Mobile. It was the last time Gulf Coast ran Mobile. So their main two towns, that was their last shows. I looked for Pensacola, and they stopped, from what I could tell, they stopped Pensacola, I want to say sometime in December. And I want to say Panama City, they stopped it like in, I think, November. So the Fields so this was in the works for a while.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it wasn't just a spur of the moment so they were slowly shutting down. And so, yeah, it was coming. No matter I think it was coming, even though if Fuller wouldn't have bought it, it would have definitely went down to maybe a 2-town territory.
Man.
Like Dothan and Mobile. And that'd been it. So it's basically
an era, man.
Yeah. Yes. And Fuller, like I said, Fuller came in, bought it, and within 2 years, it was thriving.
Yeah. But at the same time, it is the end of an era, is what
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because, the Fields, like I said, when they took over for Ron's dad, Buddy Fuller, it just became, and then it became Gulf Coast under the Fields, and it was just, that's what everybody would say, Gulf Coast, the Fields,
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though it's still in the lineage, the family, it was different. It was like I said, end of an era, because it was actually the Fields and their way of booking and everything, and everything was done. So because it totally new storylines, method of booking, and everything changed. So it was definitely end of an era.
If only you could go back in time with a money mark, you and a money mark in a time machine could go back.
That'd be, but You know how many places that would
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't just be Gulf Coast. It'd be so many different.
Yeah,
you know,
good point. Good point. Might as well drop by Memphis and Portland and everywhere.
That would be a show of its own. Just talking of the places you could go back with some money and that'd be a show all by itself. Talking about
I like your thinking, brother.
All right, so we're gonna go to January 7th, 1966. We're gonna go back to St. Louis, Missouri. Gene Knitsky beat Lou Thesz for the NWA World Title. I don't think if I have, it's maybe 1, 2, maybe footage of Gene Knitsky. There just ain't much out there. I mean, there's that little thing floating around at the end of his career, but nothing in his prime. And I don't think I've ever seen anything him holding the title. Seen some pictures, but actual footage, I don't think there might be somewhere, but I've never seen it.
I saw him hand the title to Flair.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the mess up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But they say Gene Knitsky was Canada's best athlete, and I just don't know much about him. I just know that.
What does Stu Hart think about that too? Or so many others.
Exactly. Ain't that the truth? Yeah, there's a lot of people I'm sure that say no way, Jose, on that one.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's bad because he's a common name in wrestling. But you can't find no footage of him as a world champion.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy if you think about that.
Yeah. Even if we're in the late 60s, it seemed like there would be some, but it's, so you just got to take your word, on it that he was a world champion. So, he was good.
We believe.
But, back then you had to be good. I mean, there was no, it's still politics on who got it and stuff, but you still had to be able to, you had to know your stuff, man.
Definitely, yeah.
We ain't giving it to David Arquette stuff going on back then.
No, definitely.
How many people know you? It's can you go do the job? Not do the job, but
I mean, it would have been like giving Andy Kaufman the title, essentially.
Yeah. So like I said, there's nothing out there, but we know he could go.
Oh yeah, no question. Yeah, so talking about Gene for sure, not David Arquette.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to go to January 23rd, 1984, New York City, Madison Square Garden, the day the wrestling world changed forever. Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik for the WWF World Title.
When it comes crashing down.
You think about it. That date right there changed wrestling history.
Totally. Yeah.
That's one of those things. It's got to be in the top 5 of all time events in history because, the first part of the plan was getting the belt off Backlund, but this was the main start. This was to go from here.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the stories? I don't know if they're true because it's wrestling. Who knows about Vern?
Yeah, offering Cosgrove.
Yeah, the Iron Sheik to break his leg or something.
Make him humble.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Is that true or is that legend that has become true in people's minds?
I think it's one of those that started out as something, as a rumor that is just build and added and got bigger and, it's wrestling.
Yeah.
So, who really knows?
I wonder if Vern casually mentioned it to somebody, kind of
I tell you what, I'll give somebody $100,000 to break his legs right now. Something like that.
Yeah, because Vern hated Hogan after all that.
Well, if you hear the Greg Gagne episode, which is one of our highest ranked episodes, honestly, if you go check that out, he explains the whole deal about Hogan dropped out and they had a deal with CBS possibly coming up. And I know Greg is much maligned these days because of action figures, but
it's definitely. I think Jared's probably posted right about this. Vern's so amazing. I'll just give somebody $100,000 to go break that boy's leg.
I'll make you mom.
Yeah.
And then they also had the chance to put the title on Hogan before, and they held off though. And
they were supposed to put it on. Vern was supposed to put it on Hogan, and that was a fiasco. And the people wanted it because if you watch, there's a match out there, and with him, I think it was from St. Paul. And the people were, they wanted it so bad. You could, it was there, and he didn't pull the trigger, and that was probably the worst thing Vern ever did.
Quick question to you, Q, and we'll try not to get too far off topic with it, but like, if Vern does that change the course of history?
Yeah, because you know who I think what they would have Vince. You know,
Vince was coming one way or another. But
he was coming one way or another. And I want to say, if it wasn't Hogan, I say Snuka was going to be the guy. Now, would it work? Because the Snuka New York, Northeast loved him. I mean, he couldn't do no wrong at that time.
Yeah.
But nationwide, he would have had trouble talking. No, his charisma was not even the same ballpark as Hogan. So would have pulled the trigger and put it on Snuka? I think so, because he already had that plan. He already had so much planned to back out. I don't think he could. But Snuka was so hot at that time. I think he would have had to put it on Snuka and tried it. Now maybe down the line, I'm sure Hogan and Vern would have had a falling out. You know, and
at some point.
At some point, well, I say within a year of him putting I don't think he would have lasted a year as a champion for Vern. They would have fallen out, and then he would have brought in Hogan.
Yeah.
You know,
would that have taken the thunder off of him winning the title from the Sheik versus him have already won the title in AWA? Did the AWA title mean as much as the WWF at that moment?
It depends on the part of the country you lived in.
Yeah.
See, because cable hadn't really started, you know. So you're up in the Northeast. Only thing you know about AWA is what you read in the magazines.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, only reason why Hogan, you know, got so popular because he got pushed out in the expansion.
Yeah.
So there's all these towns. You start seeing this guy's larger than life. They know him from the Rocky movie. So you know, so that's why, you know, it just the whole thing of this Hogan was the guy, and it was the guy from the get go, and it might have got delayed a little bit if Vern did go and pull the trigger, put the strap on him, but I just don't think. There was problems. I think there was, you know, conflicts with his Japan stuff, and you know, I don't think it would have worked, even if he would have pulled the trigger, and Vince would have scooped him up day one as soon as he got done with Vern, and he would have started that he would have had something planned up to, you know, part B of the Hogan push. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because Vince is too smart because he had too much going and too much in place to get going, because I don't, like I said, I think he would have threw Snuka in there because he couldn't pull it out of his plan because he was already getting these TVs lined up all across the country, and the Snuka wouldn't have worked. He would have worked, but not on the level of what Hogan caught fire with.
Right, definitely not.
So I think he had a backup plan of Hogan coming in later, and you know, because Vince had plans. There's no way he just had one plan, that was it. Because it's wrestling, you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Too much money, too much egos and stuff. So yeah, to cut this off, Hogan would have eventually been there.
Yeah. He was coming either way.
Yeah, he was going to get there no matter what. So, you know. All right, we're going to go to January 24th, 1963, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Thesz beats Buddy Rogers for the NWA World title. Now, this got really crazy. So, Buddy Rogers was the NWA champion. They want to put it on Thesz. But at that time, it was 2 out of 3 falls. This was a 1-fall match. And the promoters up in the Northeast, they said no go. They did not recognize Thesz as the champion because they said it was only 1 fall. Now, reading more into it, what I gathered from it was they didn't want to put the belt on Thesz because Buddy Rogers, they pretty much was handling him up in the Northeast. That was their guy. You take the champion out of their territory. I mean, yeah, he's traveling and everything, but, you know, 63, they wasn't traveling like it was in the 70s and early 80s. So, I mean, so you take him out of your territory to ship him out, you lose your guy. You put it on Thesz. Thesz is, you know, based out of St. Louis, that area. So the Northeast promoters were losing their guys, their world champion. That's going to hurt their gate.
Yeah.
Because he's not there, you know, even though he's their world champion, he's traveling out, but he's still mainly in the Northeast.
Right.
Because he didn't travel as much. So if they put on a different guy, you lose that of having the champion in your territory for the main part of the, you know, main day. Most of the dates he's staying home. So you lose that. So they protested it. They didn't want it. So what do you do when you're not happy with what's going on? You make your own world champion. So
is this the Indies? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the promoters in the Northeast, they got together, which, you know, all those Vince, Senior Toots, Mond, and all those guys, you know, they're all the ones around the Northeast. They got together and they formed the WWWF and made Rogers their first champion. So that's how the WWWF was formed, because it was basically they took the belt off from Rogers and put it on Thesz. Gotcha. And they couldn't, and so that means they wouldn't have control of the world champions. What it basically boiled down to, because he was a Northeast guy. So yeah. So politics has been in wrestling since day one, you know.
I mean, those two guys, that's like you're talking about the pioneers of the business, you know, and to know that they're dealing with the same stuff that the current guys deal with, you know, that's. Yeah.
It's just big, you know, it's just one of those things. It's always, when it's a work, you're going to have politics.
Yeah.
You know, because if you had guys that want their best man wins, shoot, it'd be different. But when, you know, it's like, yeah. So anyway, that's how the WWF kind of got formed, was the Northeast promoters up there was tiffed because they just lost their control over the world title. So
start your own, right?
Exactly. It's what seems like everybody does.
I mean, in this instance, it's a huge deal, you know, in that instance. But
this one's has a lot more about it, you know, has more meaning than what we talked about earlier about Al Tomko starting up his, you know.
Right.
This is a lot more clout than Tomko starting the UWA World Champion, you know. So
yeah.
All right. So we're going to go to January 24th, 1988. We're going to go to Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the, I guess I'm pronouncing this right, the Cops Coliseum. Jim Duggan became the winner of the first ever WWF Royal Rumble. He eliminated one-man gang to win it. And this was on USA Network.
USA, yep.
Yeah, it was actually shown on USA Network. Yep.
Me and Jimmy watched it. We're watching it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was, I think the next year, is when I went to pay-per-view. Because I always heard that this was a counter. The reason they put it on free TV was something the NWA was doing that day. I don't know if that's true.
It was a Clash of the Champions, was it?
Yeah, something like that.
So they put it on free TV to put one in the stomach there. Yeah, it was. You know, was it last month we talked about? There was a pay-per-view. The first time they ran pay-per-views on the same day, and we kind of figured it was Vince saying, "Hey, it was a shot to take away, the buy rate for NWA." I can't remember we talked about that last month. Or was it November? It was one of them a few months ago. Talking about it was just something Vince just threw together just to
mess with somebody else,
to hurt the ratings of the NWA on a buy rate of one of their pay-per-views.
Yes,
I can't remember but we talked about that. I can't remember which one it was. But so basically, this was too. It's like we're going. You're going with something big, and Vince is like, "Nah, let's just do this." And nobody knew what a Royal Rumble was.
Right.
It was a new concept.
Just Pat Patterson, that's all.
And it's the Battle Royal. Everybody, Battle Royal's been forever. And and by the 80s, Battle Royals was, you had them, you're kind of like, yeah, it's a battle royal. It lost, it was okay, but it didn't have that oomph,
Right.
know,
Everybody, they booked them too many times. Yeah, everybody's saying battle royal.
Yeah,
at this time.
Was it California? They had that yearly big battle royal every year in California in the 70s. That was a big deal. But by the 80s, every Tom, Dick, and Harry has seen battle royals. Like you said, they just had them so much it killed the thing. So Pat Patterson, being a genius man, said, "Hey, let's do this." And boy, did that work! I mean, they're still doing it today.
Right, totally.
So that was the first one of them. I looked at the card and I forgot to see who else worked that card. Oh crap! Was that? I was gonna write it down because they had other matches, and it was crazy because they had a couple tag matches, and there were 2 out of 3 falls. It was weird. It was like because you didn't see 2 out of 3 falls at that time period in WWF. I was gonna write them down. I forgot to. Oh well. Look them up, guys. We'll be right back with more Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Back by popular demand, the Portland Wrestling Expo 2 returns to the Holiday Inn Portland Airport on Saturday, February 21st. Already announced our WWE Hall of Famer, The Godfather, the legendary manager of the Road Warriors, Precious Paul Ellering, Scott Flash Norton, the world's strongest man, Ken Patera, Hustler Rip Rogers, and Portland legend, The Grappler. More announcements to come in the weeks to come. Tickets start as low as $25, so head on over to pwexpo.com to reserve your tickets now.
All right, going to January the 9th, 1959. We're going to go back to St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, kind of, if you follow along, this is kind of goes back to with Thesz and Buddy Rogers of they wanting to keep the title up in the Northeast. Now this is St. Louis again, and we have another NWA title change. So they're keeping the title in Missouri area. So we have Pat O'Connor beat Dick Hutton for the NWA World title. Dick Hutton's one of those guys that don't get talked about a lot. He had his run was just, I think, like a year and 2 months, just a little over a year. He didn't have a long run at all. You say Dick Hutton, nobody, it's like who?
Yeah.
It's one of those guys that was, the late 50s. It just, it gets overlooked,
Does he know Dick Dunn? I'm just kidding.
Old Dick Dunn.
Yeah.
But, Pat O'Connor, he's known because, was he Australian or New Zealand? What was he?
One of the two, yeah.
I always forget and get them mixed up. But he was their first world champion from that country. And then you had the Thesz, and so Dick Hutton gets lost. And there's definitely no footage of Dick Hutton, I don't think.
Poor guy.
Very, very few. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of him with the belt. So it's just one of those guys. He gets lost in time.
Man.
So
sorry, Dick.
All right. Yeah.
Sorry, Dick.
Well, at the time though, he wasn't sorry because he was getting a good paycheck.
Yeah, he don't care about it.
Yeah, even though it was only about a year and 2 months, he's in the book, so that's what counts.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to go to January 12th, 1968. We're going to go to L.A., Los Angeles, California. Bobo, I think we've talked about this before, back on one of the weekly gimmicks, I think. Bobo Brazil beat Buddy Austin for the WWA World title.
WWA.
Bobo Brazil would be the last UWA World Champion. Because later in 1968, the UWA, they would go back to the NWA. They would go back to be a member of it. And they became NWA Hollywood. So he was their world champion. And they had a match with him and Knitsky. And it was a time limit draw. And so basically, poor Bobo went from world champion to just being another guy in line. So, So I know we've talked about the WWA. They had that, was it 4 years? They branched out on their own. I hate that they can't find no attendance records, but that had to hurt them going from losing your NWA champion to make your own.
Oh, no doubt.
I'm sure. I mean, they still thrive. But not having that world champion come through, 2 or 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that always popped your territory for the week or how many days. So not having it all and just having a regular world champion in your territory that never leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Eventually that has to. You don't have nothing to pop your houses,
Right.
like when you bring the NWA guy in. So.
I mean, that's just the basics of booking right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically, I'm sure LaBelle's got tiffed. I think was Strombo still there at the time? I think he was.
Yeah,
the original Jill Strombo.
Yeah, 50s.
I think he was still owner. I think he was still part owner then.
Okay.
So I'm sure they got tiffed about not having maybe not getting the world champion enough times a year and. Politics, man, it's everywhere. And this is several times now in the 60s we talk about people getting mad because of a world champion, and they start their own. But we have 3 now, 3 promotions that have got mad at the NWA and started their own world champion.
It's a theme.
And, but the only one, and it's crazy, but the WWF is the only one that lasted out of the 3.
Yeah. I mean, you have to follow it up. It's like when Barry Darsow said, we commented on his gimmicks and how great they were. He was like, yeah, but you got to be able to pull them off too, Yeah,
so. Exactly. Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to go over to January 18th, 1971. We're going to go back to New York City, back to Madison Square Garden. Ivan Koloff beats Bruno Sammartino for the WWF World Title. This has ended almost an 8-year run for Bruno. And when Koloff beat Bruno, they said it was dead silence.
I mean, I can't imagine.
I mean, nobody in 20,000, whatever it was, in that building that night thought when they saw the card and bought their ticket when they got in their seat that Ivan Koloff was going to beat Bruno Sammartino.
No, and I mean, I love it. I think it's a great thing. We all do, but it's crazy. I just can't imagine the silence, So.
And here's my thing. New York put freaking Koloff in the Hall of Fame as a regular inductee.
Amen. Seriously.
That's right. Yes. I know it's a work and everything, but dadgummit, Uncle Ivan deserves it.
Amen. Could not agree more.
Yeah. But Bruno, that was, because 8 years, I mean, that is you got that they ran Madison Square Garden once a month. They've seen him, oh gosh, in 8 years, how many hundreds of times?
Yeah.
And Koloff, it's just another big, not big guy, but, it's just, he's going to win. I mean,
right.
Bruno's going to beat him. He does it every month.
Right.
So, yeah. And
bet the farm on it.
Yeah. And it just they're like, what did we just see?
Yeah. Was this a mistake? Did this really happen?
Yeah.
I mean, but even at that point, they wouldn't have thought of it as a mistake. They would have said, oh my gosh, a pin dropping.
Yeah. Because it's just one of those things. You always thought Bruno was going to be the champion forever. And you just didn't think Ivan Koloff was going to be the guy. So.
Love Ivan, though. Love Ivan. Oh, he's the best.
That's one guy I think gets overlooked.
Yeah, I agree. Agree.
He was really, and to be later, and you watch the stuff from the NWA and the later, I mean, he was working hard and at an old age, still just giving it his all. He wasn't mailing nothing in.
No, not at all.
I mean, he had to be in his 50s and the mid 80s. He had to be in his 50s, surely, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I would say because I saw him in the 90s and he was still giving his all,
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's one guy I just don't think he gets the recognition he deserves.
No, I agree. No, I totally agree.
All right, so we're going to go to January 21st, 1991. We're going to go to Nashville, Tennessee. Promoter Nick Goulas dies at the age of 76.
Oh, man.
And if you ever see pictures or video of Nick Gulas, he looked like he was 76 in 1976.
Yeah.
That man looked old when he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, I when I saw, I knew I was like 76. I knew he was young but I didn't know his actual age. When I saw that 76, I was like, at the time, I swear I would have figured he was in his 90s at least.
Nick Gould was 100 years old.
Yeah, I mean, he looked.
He always lied about his age.
He looked, yeah, but he looked. I mean, it's one of those, I mean, the wrestlers, we know why they looked like they were 50 years old and they were 30 back in the day, because they had the travel and all the wear and tear and the party. But I mean, we know Nick Gillis wasn't taking no marijuana pills, so it wasn't,
Yeah, good thing.
So he wasn't doing no drugs. I mean, so it's just crazy how he aged worse than the wrestlers did. But yeah,
marijuana pills.
Marijuana pills. But yeah, he was, even though he wasn't promoting anymore, he still was. I mean, he goes down as one of the all-time, greats in wrestling history.
Definitely. Definitely.
I mean, yeah. So gotta talk. I don't do deaths unless it's like somebody really, really, really big.
Of course. Yeah.
And I just think that, especially being growing up in Nashville and seeing, can't remember much of Nick's NWA run, but I know all about Nick and George's 80s runs off and on through the years,
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't. I would love to say that the name Goulas and our podcast is synonymous, because, I mean, I think that's just a no-brainer to bring that one up for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to go to, this is another thing kind of changed. It's changed history, too. I'm going to do January 11th, 1993, New York City. We'll go to the Manhattan Center. The WWF ran their first Monday Night Raw TV show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The main event was The Undertaker defeated Damien Demento.
The old gimmick jobbers, as they called them.
He worked the Indies, Northeast Indies, as Mondo Clean, and that's who I knew him from in the magazines. Because in the 90s they started putting a lot of the indie stuff in the results and in the ratings and stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing Mondo Clean, but I didn't, never saw a picture of him because they didn't get pictures or nothing. So when he came on David Watch, I was like, and I thought it was a cool looking gimmick,
Oh, definitely. That was a very cool gimmick. I like that. Yeah.
It definitely would have been an 80s territory gimmick, he looked, had the Mongol haircut, the ball with the gimmick in the back sometimes. And,
oh, yeah.
He definitely
T.J. Khan kind of thing or something.
Yeah. He kind of reminds you of it. Yeah, that's similar of that gimmick of a 70s, 80s territorial guy. He was born too late, one of the guys born too late, But yeah, so that was the first, Raw, and that was, that was the one that next little phase of Vince's, history of starting that Monday Night Raw TV, and it changed.
Huge. Yeah.
Changed wrestling history again,
Yeah, definitely. Huge.
It's still going today.
I know.
So
3 hours.
That was 1993. So what are we in? So how many years is that, Jerry? Help me on my math.
It's 33 years.
Yeah, 33.
Still going.
They're right at 33, yeah.
And it's on Netflix now. It's not even on USA, which is kind of sad,
Yeah, because, when they left that USA that first time and went to, I always called it the Nashville Network.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it
TNN or TNT?
Yeah. It just
what's now Spike or Paramount Network.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went to that.
One of those.
And yeah, it's Paramount Plus or something. I don't know. Paramount, one of those. It's changed. But anyway, even though, man, it was still the same product, but that little TNN logo, in the corner, that whole time period just didn't seem right,
Yeah.
And now, like I said, now it's on Netflix. I don't even watch it anymore. I hadn't watched wrestling. I haven't watched today's wrestling in over a year.
Wow. That's awesome.
I gave up on AEW.
Yeah.
over a year ago. I was done with it. I haven't watched any.
Yeah.
I've just watched old stuff on YouTube.
And man, that's just what keeps me happy too, Q. Honestly, I quit on it. And then, with this whole stuff of moving from Peacock, and then I felt like they were saying it was going to last through 2025. And then they moved it like 3 months earlier than they were planning.
Yeah.
I just said, man, forget it. So the last pay-per-view I saw was, I guess, the Saturday night's main event on Peacock. And that's the actual last wrestling I've seen of new stuff. So I'm with you, man. So.
I didn't even move over to Peacock because I would buy those WWE cards.
Yeah.
And then when they moved to Peacock, I still had a month left and they didn't credit me. I said, screw y'all.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, I'm not, no. So I never went to Peacock.
I mean, dude, it was a great deal for a long time. $10 for the WWE network.
Yeah.
And then they messed it up, man. It was perfect with the network.
It was horrible.
That's all I needed was the network. I didn't need, 35 other things.
And Peacock, I mean, this is again off subject from the whole show, but Peacock just even as good as it was, and they didn't have everything that the network had for choices, I'm guessing, and they it just never was as organized. The network was perfect. I mean, or darn near it, I guess I should say.
Yeah. It was the best it could be. Pretty much.
I really enjoyed that 24/7 that would come on like the cable systems, though. That was really cool when it lasted.
I made so much money off WWE 24/7.
That's awesome.
In like 3 years, dude. I made a killing. Man, especially when it first came out, hardly anybody had it, man.
Yeah.
Comcast and Nashville had it, and
right.
Man,
that's what I had. Yeah.
I had guys. I had monthly guys. I want to say 10 regular monthly guys that I supplied.
That's awesome.
That wasn't the here and there's orders I'd get. That was
you got him Mid-South, man. I'm needing something real bad, brother. You got him Mid-South.
They would when they put out that, when 24/7 would put off that list of what was going to be that month, I'd start I started getting my orders from they were regular monthly guys, and it would come on. It would they have something. One thing would run like 1 week, some would run 2-3 weeks. It's just different because they were switching stuff out so much. And man, I made a killing because, like I said, I had like 10 regular monthly guys that bought from me, and then I'd have guys here and there. Say, hey, I just need this one show. I made a freaking killing, dude.
You see that, Vince? You screwed it up.
Yeah. But I got out of actually, they still had 24/7 when I got out of the.
Oh, okay. I love that, though, that option.
DVD, at the DVD, when I got out of the DVD business, you want to say, it was still out. It was still going.
Yeah.
But no, man, for the 3 years, man, because like I said, a lot of cable companies didn't have. I think it was like Cox. All these other cable companies didn't have. Comcast was like the only one. I think Comcast was like the only big one that had it.
Yeah, I had Comcast in Nashville.
And like I said, and there was this board where everybody used to use kayfabe memories for their tape thing. And then I want to say about 2003, maybe, this one come out called Crazy Max. And everybody flooded Crazy Max. People still used kayfabe memories, but when Crazy Max hit its stride, man, there's so many people on there, and like I said, I was making a killing on it. So yeah,
that's
I know
awesome.
We're way off topic, but the 24/7 was awesome.
Miss those days, man. Yeah. Miss those days. Nothing good lasts, apparently. So yeah.
No, not in the wrestling business.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely not in the wrestling business. Everybody's always got to mess something up, So.
Yep.
All right, so now we're going to go to January 12th, 1981. We're going to go to Fort Worth, Texas. Raul Mata and Billy Whitecloud beat Tim Brooks and Raul Castro for the NWA Texas Tag Team Championship.
Okay.
They were the last ones to hold this Texas Tag Team world class. They brought it back later on, I think in the late 90s, I think maybe. But this was, I mean, the late 80s, I'm sorry. But this was that run before World Class hit its stride. So these guys were the last champions. So I know a lot of people probably don't know these guys except for Killer Tim Brooks. I mean, that's another underrated guy, I think. I love Killer Tim Brooks. He was so good. So these other guys that a lot of people probably don't remember. Billy White Cloud, sometimes he gets mixed up with Billy White Wolf, which was Sheik Adnan LKC. He was Billy White Wolf when he worked for New York. It's Billy White Wolf. Yeah, he was. Yeah, so Adnan's been a little bit of everything. but
Always willing, right?
Yeah, hey, if it works, it works. So this Billy White Cloud, he works a lot of Southern territories, and I didn't know this. He had a 2.5-year run in Portland. Okay, so the Raul Mata. Now I remember this guy. He worked for about 20 years. He worked for EMLL in Mexico, and worked for World Class, of course. But I remember him from Florida. He had a long run in Florida, really long run in the 80s. Now the Raul Castro, I couldn't find anything on him anywhere. So I have no idea who this guy was. So I don't even know how long he was even working. I should look see through the results, see how long he worked at World Class, but I was like, I ain't gonna dig that. That's too much digging.
Too much, right?
For somebody I'd never heard of. So, all right. So now we're going to go to January 7th, 2001. We'll go to New York City, Hammerstein Ballroom. ECW ran their last pay-per-view.
ECW.
Yep. So that was the nail was in the coffin, but it hadn't pushed all the way down. It was starting to be hammered. So
you just got to wonder always if the funding had been there.
Funding and mismanagement of money.
Well, that's what I'm just.
Yeah, all that. I mean, it's both of them combined. But yeah, the funding, that was that, and all their talent always got raided.
But I wonder if that was because of the funding issues too, though.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't. I mean, there's no way. It don't matter what kind of funding they had. They weren't going to compete with WWF and WCW for contracts for talent.
Yeah.
There were no they could give them that kind of money. Even they had the funding, it would have it wouldn't. I mean, they could have come close to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was you're right, Jared. It's would it have how much longer could they have gone if they would have had proper funding and proper money management and everything, and it probably, I don't think it'd still be going, but it definitely would have lasted long. You would have to know it had to last at least 5 more years at least. They were still drawing good crowds. I mean, even though they lost that TV, that the Spike TV, what it was, TNN, they lost that, but they still had a following. You know what I'm saying? They're still drawing good crowds. So I think they could I know they could at least last 5 more years if it, had the money and business wise ran right. It definitely would have. I say it would probably they might could even got 10 years out more. Now, what level it would have been, I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, it thrived with no budget in a bingo hall.
Yeah.
So, I think it with a little bit of more funding and more management, it could. I think they could have got another 10 years out of them.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because you would have seen, you wouldn't have had no Ring of Honor.
Right.
Ring of Honor would never happen, most likely.
Would you have had a TNA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were 2 separate things, I think, and
I think you would, because even though they ECW had some funding, there wasn't on their thing to bring in top guys for period. They'd bring in they brought in Sid, they brought in Scott Hall. It wasn't. They was to bring them in to pop the house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
TNA was bringing in guys that for like they knew that was going to be names that would come in there would stay longer, would build TNA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there would definitely been a TNA. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, ECW wasn't with ECW being in business, it wasn't affected. And now it might have would have affected the X Division.
Yeah.
Because you would have got more of those guys. Because you think about a lot of those X Division guys, they showed up in Ring of Honor. The very, Styles and all those guys. So they would have been, so Paulie probably would have started bringing those guys in. Because that style was starting to catch on. And, Paulie could see the trend of wrestling and know where it was going. So I don't think the X Division wouldn't have been as good in TNA because I think they would have been up working for Paulie if he was still in business. If that makes sense. I mean, that's what I would. Who knows? But that's what I kind of see would have happened. But that's why it would have affected TNA was they wouldn't have got the top cruisers. And like Jerry Lynn, I think he would have stayed. He'd have stayed in ECW. He wouldn't have went to He wouldn't have went to TNA. So I think it affected TNA a little bit, but nothing to really hurt it. You know what I'm saying? So
and then honestly, by the time all the guys that showed up from ECW that had worked in WCW before that, you know what I'm saying? Like Sandman and Raven and all that, they still could have easily showed up in TNA at that point, Yeah.
It's just one of those, we don't know what we would have loved to see it happen, to see how it worked out,
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So now this was the real sad day. January 13th, 2001, Pine Bluff, Arkansas at the Pine Bluff Convention Center. ECW ran their last show. Attendance
and you and Randall Fanning were there. No, I'm just kidding.
we made the Smoky Mountain, but we didn't make the ECW one. Attendance was 1,300. And this is what got me. It still gets me this day. That started out ECW up in Philly, up in the bar. And, they said them bar shows up there, before Paulie ever got there. They were doing bar shows. And so it started out, the Drums of Philadelphia. But the last show, it died in, of all places, Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Wow.
It just seems so odd.
That just don't seem right.
Yeah. Did they just pick a town for a random spot show from Memphis and just?
Well, I think they were doing shows. I want to say they were in Missouri the night before or a couple nights before. So I think, and I guess it's like Cornette just pulled the plug on one night, just pulled it. Cornette pulled it of all places, Cookeville, Tennessee.
It's a good point.
Paulie said, "I'm gonna one up you, Cornette. I'm pulling the plug in Pine Bluff, Arkansas."
Man, what a town.
It seemed like Paulie would have went back to Philly to the arena, gave the people one more show. Be the last show there, but something happened for him just to pull the plug in Pine Bluff. Something must have really happened that it was like, we're done. Because, I don't know the population of Pine Bluff, Arkansas was in 2001, but 1,300 people, that's a decent house.
Yeah. I wonder if our buddy and good listener of the show, Brandon Wheeler, was there. He was from Jonesboro. Brandon, you listening? Were you there at this last ECW show?
Yeah. Let us know. Yeah. And let us know if it was actually 1,300 there.
Yeah. If you were. Yeah, please.
We all know how the attendance on these wrestling shows go. If you like the promotion, oh, man, they didn't draw 50 people. If you like them, oh, man, they had 350,
Yeah. Oh, they didn't even fill up the front row,
Yeah. Yeah, you know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we're going to go to January 24th, 1981. We're going to go to Daly City, California. Going to go to the Cow Palace, which people don't realize Cow Palace is not in San Francisco. It's in Daly City. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. You think Cow Palace, think San Francisco. Nope.
Yeah.
It's actually a suburb of San Francisco called Daly City. And basically now they run together. There's no, but it's still it is a separate city. But you go to, it's like, you have something in the suburbs, you always say, you always go to the big town.
Right, of course. Yeah. Right.
So yeah, so that's. I know I'm getting off topic of what this place is at, but yeah, so Daly City was actually the home of the Cow Palace.
Okay.
Roy Shires on this date ran his last show, and he closed his promotion. He had his promotion for about 20 years. So the year before, we had LaBelle's shutting down Los Angeles. A year later, we have Roy Shire shutting down San Francisco territory. That's, I mean, I'm wondering if Shires. I don't know the reason why. The actual, who knows? But in the '60s, San Francisco was probably one of the hottest territories in the '60s in the country. It was smoking in the '60s. '70s still doing good. They still had Patterson coming in there. It is. I don't know. I don't know the actual true story, but I do know that on January 15th, 81, AWA came in there and ran a show. So Vern actually, he did take over San Francisco when Shires shut down. He took it over. So I'm wondering if Shires was like, Vern's coming in, because Vince hadn't made his, actually seniors still running New York at the time, so there was no expansion threat of anything. But I guess he was worried that Vern was going to come in and have a territorial war. And after, Shires was getting up in age by then, I don't know if he just said, screw it, you can have it,
He might have.
And you hear stories of, he was broke, the territory wasn't drawn, but like I go back to that thing of wasn't drawn on your butt, but you're still making money, but you're not making money like you were in the heyday. You still had money to keep it going, but a lot of these guys, they were so used to printing money in the territory days that by the 80s they didn't want to deal with it because they still made money, still could make a living, but they were all getting older and it wasn't worth their time. So who really knows deep down, because you never know the truth of why people shut down the territories. So but that, like I said, that was, so California, that was basically their last. You still had independence. Leon basically took over Los Angeles territory after LaBelle shut down, and like I said, and then Vern snatched up San Francisco full time. So, but yeah, so that was, another end of the era of mighty territories that gone. The 80s took a lot of territories that Vince didn't take. Just time. Just stuff happened. All right, so we're definitely leaving the 80s on this one. We're going to go to January 22nd, 1951. Go to Abilene, Texas. And I'm going to butcher this name. Oh my gosh. Jack O'Reilly and Ivan, and I've heard this pronounced many times, but I can never pronounce it right. Kalamakov became the first NWA Texas Tag Team Champions. This was the West Texas version. Because they're all under one office in Texas, but they were different territory. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Different office. They had that big one office. But so you had the West, was Amarillo, all that stuff out there, and so they were the West. They were the Texas Tag Team Champions, the West side, I guess you want to call it. So they were the last champions because later, it's in 1962. They said they were the last. I looked at the thing. These were the last champions. Then in 1962, they brought the titles back, but they changed the name of them. They were called the Southwest Tag Titles. So tell you, man, in the 50s, I know it's 50s, 60s, they would have a champion. He could be there, just they talk about how promotions nowadays have a lot of champions. Dude, going through this history, a lot of these promotions had more than just 2 titles back in the old territory days. They had tons of titles.
Yeah.
like AEW.
Yeah, but I mean, Dave Milliken described it in a perfect way. He said all those companies ran several shows a night in a lot of cases, so the extra belts made sense.
Yeah.
But,
the bigger territories. Yeah, definitely did.
Yeah. Anyway, keep going, Q.
So, so in 1962, they brought the belts back, and they were known as the Southwest Tag Titles. So, so they'd take them away, bring them back, same promotion, bring it back, basically the same belts but new names. All right, so then in 1963, Ted DiBiase and Fritz von Erich, they become the last champions of the Southwest Tag Titles. Okay, then here's this. Later that year in 63, they brought the titles back, but they called them the NWA North American Tag Team titles, West Texas version. So it seemed like I've noticed a lot. They'd end the belt and they take 6 months off to a year, bring it back and with other name. And I think they would do that to make it sound more prestige. So just bring this belt back. It's the same name. They're like, oh, we got new titles, And I mean, Jarrett did. I mean, I've seen it done through the years. That same old title, they just rename it. Try to get some rub off. Make the fans think they're getting something different. It's the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
This is one of the old promotion thing. So these belts, basically, the NWA Texas title, West Texas version, were the same belts, but they were named in like a 10-year period, 3 different names. So so did a little research. Jack O'Reilly, that name didn't ring a bell to me, so I looked. He worked 15 years. He worked everywhere. I mean, he was all over the place. Now the Ivan Kalamakov, he worked about 30 years, and he worked everywhere. He had a kayfabe brother, Carl Kalamakov, and they were like the first big time Soviet team that traveled. Yeah, they were one of the first big. From looking at the stuff, they were the first Soviet tag team that was big time. That it went everywhere. They were also AWA World Tag Team Champions at one time. And then in the 70s, when Eddie Ihorn had his IWA run, where he went try to do the nationwide thing and went against NWA, Ivan Kalmak, I'm just going to say Ivan. He was brought in and was the manager of the Mighty Igor.
Oh.
So he was still around in the 70s doing managing. But he was like I said, that because you think the Germans were the big time, and then you started getting a little bit of Soviets in the 50s and 60s, but the main were the Germans. You heard a lot about them, but then the Soviets, 70s is when you really started getting the Soviets. You really started getting Soviet teams and Soviet wrestlers, the Russians. But him and his brother Carol they were the first traveling one. So there's a lot of history there. A lot of people don't know.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
If you think of the Russians, it's the first one I can remember was Ivan Koloff, Chris Markov, then Volkov. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's the ones I can remember first. But these guys were, from what research I did, they were big time.
That's cool.
And then in that second phase, where like I said, we had Mike DiBiase and Fritz von Erich. Everybody knows Fritz von Erich. Mike DiBiase was Ted DiBiase's stepdad.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was his stepdad. All right, so we're going to go to January 12th, 1986. We're going to go out to San Antonio, Texas, to the Hemisphere Arena. And this is not going to be Southwest. This is Texas All-Star. So this is after Fred Behrens bought Southwest from the Blanchards and was running Texas All-Star.
There you go.
So on this night, we have Kamala and the Zambui Express, which was Ray Candy and Leroy Brown. They become the Zambui Express. I don't know if y'all are familiar with those guys.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, with the camouflage. Yeah, the big old black guys Yeah, they were huge. They beat Big Bubba, One Man Gang, and Mark Youngblood to become the first Texas All-Star 6-man tag team champions.
Wow.
This match was the finals in a tournament. A Big Bubba, that's Tugboat, Typhoon, Fred Ottman, Shockmaster.
I told you. Oh, God.
Everybody knows One Man Gang, and they put Mark Youngblood with him. That's on paper that looks odd. I'm sure it really looked odd. You had these two massive guys, and you had Mark Youngblood.
Yeah, seriously.
Brody was it? One of the teams was Brody and two other guys, and I mean it was a stacked card. I mean, you take Kamala, Zimba Express in '86. They were hitting. I mean, they hadn't hit their stride in Florida, come to Memphis, so they were nationwide known. So the One Man Gang, I mean, he was in '86. He was known everywhere. So and then Brody was on the thing. So they had some talent in the. They didn't stay long. A lot of these guys left because I mean, everybody. The stories of Fred Behrens basically did not pay, and that Jimmy Powell talked about how he had to leave because the pay was so bad.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah. Texas All-Star just it went downhill, and they started losing all their stars. But it was still good when he first started. He had some talent there.
Yeah, but you don't keep them if you don't pay them, right?
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
You're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, and we'll be right back after these messages.
CHW is continuing the legacy of historic professional wrestling in Tennessee with monthly events at the Armory in Ashland City. CHW owner Mike Green has made it his mission to present the best pro wrestling shows in the Nashville area, and he has been delivering the goods. CHW Wrestling combines all the elements that Tennessee wrestling fans have come to expect. Action, suspense, athleticism, reality, stories, surprises, and excitement, all delivered by the finest professional wrestlers this state has to offer. Follow CHW Pro Wrestling on Facebook for the latest news, announcements, and show dates. And subscribe to Championship Productions on YouTube to see past events like the Ashland City Rumble and the Valentine's Massacre. Fun for the whole family with delicious and affordable concessions on site. Witness the action and excitement of CHW in Ashland City at the Armory. Family Wars, Love and Hate, Championship Gold. A CHW event is everything you're looking for in a night of live entertainment.
So now we're going to go to January 6, 1974, and I'm going to butcher this. It's going to be Puerto Rico, the city of Guaynabo.
Okay.
It's one of their, I'm horrible with these names. WWC ran their first show. This was Carlos Colon, Joe Vica. This is their promotion. There was and they were not NWA at first. There was a NWA promotion there. I was going to write it down, but it was called, when I was researching it, it was called two different names. So I didn't want to say what it was because I don't know which one. Because Puerto Rico's history in the 70s is awful. There is hardly any of it out there. So I don't know actually what the name was. So I just called it, it was an NWA office. They were wherever office it was under NWA. And like I said, Cologne and Jovica, and I don't know if Gorilla Monsoon was in it at the beginning or not. I don't know because he had ownership of Puerto Rico too.
Okay.
So I don't know if he was there from the start. He might have been, since the office that was already there was an NWA office. So he might have been in the very beginning with them because he was a New York guy. But I couldn't find anything for sure if Monsoon was there in day one when they started. So, so on their first show, they actually crowned their champions, which I kind of think is odd. Usually, you get it going before you crown. I know most promotions will get it going before they crown their champions. I don't know if they had TV or not. I couldn't find out if they had TV, or but their first champion. They called it their Puerto Rico heavyweight champion, and it was Jose Miguel Perez. He worked a lot of places. He worked in New York a lot, and in the '60s. And he had a son, Jose Miguel Perez Jr. Worked forever. They also crowned their tag team champions that night, and it was Hurricane Castillo Sr. and Don Serrano. And they were called the North American Tag Team Champion. Hurricane Castillo, worked for Rick forever. His son worked in New York. He was was it Los Boricuas, or what were they called?
Los Boricuas, yeah.
Yeah. He was one of them, Hurricane Castillo Jr. He was in that, and he worked for Carlos forever. But Don Serrano, I never heard of Don Serrano until I got a tape when I got my first tape of that Thesz UWA in the early '90s. He was on there. I never heard Don Serrano, but he worked everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Worked a lot for the Sheik in Detroit. But yeah, this guy. He worked everywhere. I mean, he was a journeyman. This Don Serrano in the '60s and '70s. By '74, he had to be, late '40s probably. Yeah, he was one of those guys. He worked all the way up into the '80s.
Golly, okay.
Yeah, it's like that other guy that worked for the Sheik forever. What was that guy's name? Luis Martinez.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Him and Serrano basically the same thing. They worked forever up into like their '60s. Those two guys are the same, and they both worked for the Sheik forever too. So kind of the same guy if you kind of look at it that way.
Yeah.
All right. This coming up story I found in Randall Fanning gave me this book that he's collected over the years. It's full of results, newspaper articles. This is from like the '70s and early '80s. He has several. He collected. He was in a kind of like a pen pal thing back in the '70s and '80s. For each, it was all over the country. These guys would do the results and clippings, and they'd send them out to each other. So they'd circle around. You know what I'm saying? And so he saved all this stuff. And he let me borrow one of his books, and I found this story out of it. So I'm going to tell you. So we're going to go to January 13th, 1980. We're going to go to Toronto, Canada, the Maple Leafs Gardens. And this was crazy when I read this story. Ray Stevens and two fans got into an altercation on the ramp. Now, if you've ever watched anything from the Maple Leaf Gardens, they had that ramp. It went all the way from the dressing room to the ring. Elevated ramp. And if you watch some of those '80s New York stuff, especially I think was it the Club versus Andre, that was the one. That was like the first match I ever saw with that ramp. But yeah, you remember the old WCW ramp?
Definitely, yeah.
It's basically like that. That's the first place I ever saw it was at Maple Leaf.
Okay.
They were the first one I ever seen do one, and they kept it. No matter what promotion ran it, it was there. It stayed there. That was the setup. No matter what promotion ran it. So they had this big wrong, the elevated ramp. And now they said all of a sudden, Ray Stevens was walking back from the ring after the match, and this melee starts happening. The fans said that Stevens attacked them. Stevens says the fans attacked him. Then I read up there was multiple eyewitnesses, and of course they had different stories. So the two fans pressed charges on Stevens. So Stevens turned around and pressed charges on them. one of the guys Stevens hit fell on the floor and started having seizures.
Dang.
Yeah. So Stevens said that the guy jumped up on the ramp and he just started wailing on him. And then they said the other guy come up there. They don't know who was trying to get the guy off, but Stevens got on him too because he got up on the ramp. That's what Stevens, his version. Now the fans' versions was they said that Stevens was walking back, and I think they said he wanted to shake his hand, and Stevens attacked him. Stevens is a heel. Why? Nope. And you didn't have very rare. You had heel fans in the 70s.
Yeah, right. Of course.
And so the fan said he was trying to shake his hand, and Stevens attacked him. Now, if you're standing, I mean, Stevens, I don't see why he would attack him. He's elevated. He would have to go to attack him. He'd have to go downward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To attack. So, like I said, and eyewitnesses said that, the people was with the guy. They said the witnesses said that Stevens went down to attack him. Now, security said that worked for the building said that the guy did jump on the ramp. So, I wasn't there, but we've seen fans just get crazy and do stupid stuff. So I believe that the idiot jumped up on that ramp.
I believe that too.
Stevens Stevens was a heat magnet. Know,
totally.
So I'm believing Stevens, and so they both filed charges. They went to the police station and filed charges. They scheduled a court date for later in February. It was in the newspaper article I found. I went into February's newspapers, and I couldn't find anything about the case. So I'm thinking it got thrown out.
Man. Yeah.
So,
crazy. I can't believe that. I can believe that, but I wouldn't try Ray Stevens for anything. So
no, and my whole thing is, like I said, there wasn't Hill fans in. If he stuck his hand out, Ray Stevens ain't gonna single him out.
No.
He just got his match. He's going back to the back.
Right.
Right. And so, and this guy was in his 20s. I'm thinking he had too much to drink. He filled up on that Molson or Moosehead or what do they call it? What was that, Moosehead? Is that what it was?
Something like that. Yeah.
That Metallica used to drink when they first started. It had too many of those and jumped up on, he got plummeted and fell off the stage and hit his head, started having seizures, Yeah,
that's the only logical thing that could have happened. Yeah.
I just don't see Stevens' point in having to engage with him go downwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care what they called him, or even if they threw a paper cup at him. He's not going to engage with this one guy out of the blue.
Unless he's just having a super off night. And
he's to take it. Yeah, the match was horrible. He knows his money's getting cut that night, and he's just ready to whoop somebody's butt.
Yeah, first person he sees.
I thought it was really interesting. That I stumbled across that, and I was like, oh, that's something I haven't heard about. You hear all through the years of fans, suing wrestlers and stuff, but I saw that and I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. So, because I read the whole story, and it was, and the guy having seizures. So that was crazy.
Definitely.
All right. So now we're going to go to January 21st, 1985. I guess this was, I guess it was Tampa. Eddie Graham passes away. And, rumors through the years of, of why he did it and all this. They said, Florida Dusty had left, and territory was struggling, which would go back to that whole thing of, was it really?
Yeah, right.
Then you hear rumors of he owed a lot of money to a lot of bad people.
Mm.
You heard that rumor was around. And then you just had the rumor of he just had mental illness.
Mm.
You know, who really knows besides him and God? It's only two people that know.
Yeah.
The real reason. But you, like I said, you can put two and two together. I mean, you think about it. That Florida territory was a mainstay. You know, it like I said, that Florida title, you know, on and off was the next step up to, you know, the world title. You know, Funk, Briscoe, you know, they're all Florida champions. So it's you know, it was just one of those main territories, and you know, he's known as one of the best minds in the business. You know, Dusty left, that territory did go down.
Mm.
You know, it really did drop off. You know, he went to Crockett.
Mm.
You know, and I want to say when this happened, I think Michael Hayes might have been the booker.
Oh, okay.
I want to say that time period, Michael Hayes took over as the booker. I could be wrong, but I mean, it's just one of those things. It's sad because, you know, after he died, Matsuda and Kiyomuka took over. Kiyomuka was Pat Tanaka's dad. Duke Kiyomuka. They took over the office, and it just went downhill. You know, to finally was it late '86 or '87? Crockett bought it, and it's just kind of sad that, I mean, all these promotions, you know, you know, just the '80s just died out.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you wonder, would have it died so fast if Eddie Graham was still there? Because like I said, they said he was one of the great minds of the business. Could he no, he couldn't keep it at the level of what Dusty did for all those years. I mean, that's just unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then even when Dusty was a booker, there were some times it went down and other people took over the book, you know, through there. But Dusty was his main booker most of the time, you know, and it just, I mean, one of those what ifs, you know, could Florida, you know, stayed around, you know, and being not Florida of old, but been, you know, still could have been a successful territory longer than, you know, less than 2 years later, they're selling to Crockett, you know, so I just one of those, you know, and, you know, he was big time in that, you know, the boys ranch thing down in Florida, you know, and he had, you know, the building in Orlando was named after him, the Eddie Graham sports thing, the building where they ran. I mean, he was a big time person in Florida, just not for the wrestling, for his charity work and stuff. And it just, I mean, did he get him, you know, in with the wrong people and figured there's no way out, you know? And I don't, it's just one of those, who knows, you know?
But I'm trying to remember what Dark Side of the Ring said about it all. I've watched that one, but I can't remember.
Oh, he had one?
Yeah.
Oh, I've only watched a few of those because I never had Vice TV, so I've only seen a few of those through the years. But
yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, I do feel like maybe it's getting thin, but you know,
yeah. Sometimes it's like Dark Side of the Ring. I mean, like they had John Tenta, Earthquake had one, and I'm like, it wasn't really dark. I mean, he just died young. I mean, it wasn't like anything. There was nothing really about John Tenta's career that was like dark.
Well, you know, I think about it now. I didn't see the episode, but I'm thinking, you know, you say that, it's like you never heard nothing bad about John Tenta.
No.
I don't think I've heard about him. Well, he was a really nice guy.
Yeah. And that's basically what the episode says. I mean,
You know,
like,
and was actually a family man in the wrestling business, which is not always heard of.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's like, yeah, that one kind of defeats the Dark Side of the Ring, you know, thing.
But the Graham one belongs, but it's
yeah.
But you know, and what's crazy is, you know, Mike committed too, and I didn't Mike sunk before Mike did
something like that.
I think he did. Something. He died. His son died, and then Mike, like later on, then he. And I think I remember reading about this. Didn't he do it at like Bike Week down in Florida?
Maybe.
It's like him.
I don't know that. Yeah.
We're down there they were in bike week, and like he went back to the trailer and or something like it was. It's weird how stuff like this happens. But when somebody like Graham, that territory was still going, that's one of those that makes you wonder what really happened. So
seriously.
All right, so we're going to go to January 12th, 1959. Now this only intrigued me when I found this and went into a little rabbit hole on this one because it's off the beaten path, But you know me, I love this stuff. So we're going to go to January 12th, 1959. We're going to go to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. The Madison Wrestling Club crowned their first heavyweight champion. His name was Frenchie Champagne. Beat Bobby Jones for the title and they've been running a while. Actually, a long while before they actually crowned their first champion. Okay, so this got me wondering because I was like, Winnipeg, huh? And I've always known Winnipeg to be a AWA town. And before AWA were they Minnesota Boxing and Wrestling Club, I think that's what they were called. So it's always been that, say AWA-ish town, that group.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, well, this is odd. So I was like, you don't have many indies, back in the day. And so, I started going and looking into it. And, the AWA was the Minnesota Athletic Club, boxing and then wrestling club. There was a club. So this thing's a club. So I just kept looking. Dude, Winnipeg in the early 80s was the Wild West, dude. You had the AWA running it. You had this group right here, the Madison Wrestling Club, running it. Then I found this guy named Alex Turk. Alex Turk Promotions ran it. He had ties with NWA.
Okay.
So you have three promotions running Winnipeg in the early 60s.
Dang. Oh.
Alex Turk, part of the NWA. AWA has their own associate. They're Vern and their own champions. So it's a different thing. Now Turk and Vern would only run it once a month, but this Madison Athletic Club would run it weekly. So the other two was NWA, AWA. This Madison Club was an indie, and so it's like stumble across established promotion with affiliation with NWA, you'd see an indie pop up. But when you had AWA and NWA and an indie in the early 60s, that's unheard of.
Yeah, seriously.
Then so I kept looking more into it. Another indie popped up in Winnipeg.
Man, this is Nashville.
Exactly. And this one was called the West Bank Athletic Club. But they only ran it sporadically. You'd see them, they'd run it like once a month, then you'd go, and they wouldn't run it for like 6 months, and then they'd run like 2 or 3 shows in a row, and then you wouldn't see them for almost another 8-9 months, and then they'd come back, run monthly or they were all over the place, but they were still there.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think Winnipeg would be the 2000s Nashville,
Right, exactly.
I mean, it just, when I started looking at it, it kept going and going. I'm like, this is crazy, Like I said, you would have the established promotion with affiliate to NWA, and then you would have an indie, but they would never last.
Right.
Or they would go outside of the main, we talked about the guy, the Bear Man in Canada, had the Bear. Right. He ran his promotion for 20 years.
Man.
Outside of Toronto, the outlayers of Toronto where the Tunnies wouldn't run, the smaller cities. But they, so that was unheard of that. But this was just crazy. Winnipeg's population in the 60s, I know it's, and biggest city in Manitoba, but it's still, can it support that much wrestling?
Mm-hmm. Good question. Yeah.
And I looked around, I couldn't find any towns around Winnipeg that had had wrestling. It seemed like Winnipeg was, and that area was the only town that had wrestling. So I just, to me, of looking through the years of main towns, the indie would always come in and would never last. Yeah. They lasted all the way up. This Madison Wrestling Club lasted all the way up to I want to say 67, 68.
Yeah.
They lasted a long time. They lasted longer than the Al Turk NWA one did.
Okay.
So it just, I don't know. I just thought this was my, wrestling mind of just the off wall, just stuff you never hear about history. I just love this. But man, just the inner workings of how this one town in Canada, which I'm sure they didn't run full 12 months because the weather had to be horrible at times up there.
Yeah.
So that they could have this much wrestling in that one town, and to keep them going, because like I said, these other promotions that were making bank money, then their business fell off, and they thought it was the end of the world. They were still making money, but they closed down, so they couldn't have been making a lot of money. And I don't know. It just amazes me how this happened. I don't know.
That's very interesting. Very interesting.
It's one of those things that I've always heard Winnipeg as an AWA town. I just never known it was at one time it was the Wild Wild West. If you had a ring, you're gonna run. You're gonna call yourself some kind of athletic club, and you're gonna run. You're gonna run shows there. In the '60s, Winnipeg was the Mecca wrestling city.
Okay.
It probably had more wrestling than any town anywhere.
Yeah.
When you had that many people running.
That's cool. That's good info. I like that.
All right. So now we're going to go to January 7th, 1953. We're going to go to Washington, D.C. Capitol Wrestling held its first show in the Washington, D.C. area at the Turner's Arena. This was Tootsmont and Vince Sr. Eventually, Tootsmont was already up north. Vince Sr. moved up there, and D.C. was a mecca, dude. It was a big-time town. I think I've talked this about before. That Washington, D.C. TV was in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. It was big time. It was a big-time town. And then I know we talked about in like 70, it just died. They stopped running it. Remember, they went to a monthly town, and then they, it was. I guess but in the 50s, man, 60s, it was rolling. But that's when they made Capitol Wrestling, and that, like I said, that TV show was. They had the Dumont, and then late 50s DC TV came in, and basically seemed like it was the big shebang. So
okay.
But a lot of people don't realize about Capitol Wrestling and how the DC, how strong it was at one time. It was one of the strongest cities, on its own. The TV thrived,
Yeah.
So I think this is my last one. We're going to go to January 13th, 1972. We're going to go to Japan. New Japan Pro Wrestling was formed. Remember last month we talked about how Inoki got fired from JWA because he was trying to do he was planning a hostile takeover. Him and Baba and they fired Inoki, kept Baba. So a month later, I guess what I gathered from this, because I knew he took over. I know in '72 they formed, but I didn't know it was the next month after he got fired. So he must have took the plan of the takeover of JW and just went on with it as his own. I mean, I guess probably, I'm saying, and just went on with it, not having a company, but just let's go do it. And I guess the guys that were going to jump ship with him went on and jumped ship.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm assuming. So
makes sense. Yeah.
And then, later in the year, Baba started up All Japan.
Okay.
But for him, like I said, I didn't know it was a month. So he must have some really solid plans.
Yeah.
To take over JW. And I mean, it just kind of shocked me that 1 month later that it was going.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting to know that it was that so close together.
Yeah. It just, and for it to thrive.
Yeah.
I mean, to get going, and then I guess that's why Bob was like, man, because it hurt JW big time. And I guess Bob was like, whoa, I better do something too, because JW looks like this might be a sinking ship,
That's the creation of the Japanese wrestling as we know it, essentially. So
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. And so I ain't got a lot of notes on this of what actually happened, because that's another thing. It's hard to find a lot of the Japanese, the story, but the inner workings, you can't find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The history of it, it's like the Puerto Rico stuff, when WWC formed, you can't find the in detail stuff of why it happened, how it happened. Because this would be interesting, because I couldn't find anything. Did Inoki have TV? I don't know if he had TV or not. I wish there was more out there on this, because it changed Japanese wrestling. I mean, this was a big deal, but there's just nothing out there. To me, the wrestling nerd, me wants the inner workings, how it happened. We know why it happened, because he got kicked, he got fired, but how, because the inner workings on this one would really be good, because it wasn't like he got fired 6 months, 7 months, 8 months later. He opened up an office.
Yeah.
He opened an office less than 30 days.
Yeah.
And it ain't like it is nowadays. You buy a ring and open up a promotion. It ain't like,
Right.
In Japan, there's not. JW had, they had the stronghold. So how did he get in buildings? And JW had the Yakuza. They were Yakuza, and they were financed by the Yakuza. So how in the world did he get in, because if he's taking money away from the Yakuza, he's going to get killed.
Seriously. Yeah.
Did he go in and team up with them, and they jumped on board with him and left JW?
It's a good question.
It's one of those, that stuff, that's what I love about the wrestling history, is the stuff that you find that's not on the outside, the inner stuff that it's just not going, wrestling promotion there's so much more to it back then than just it is nowadays. Let's go buy a ring and let's go make some flyers on the internet and post them on Facebook. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Totally.
So anybody can do that nowadays within a month.
Right.
But I would like to really find out though the Yakuza part, because I just don't see you're not going to take money away from the Japanese mob and them not be happy with that.
No, definitely not.
He must have some kind of thing where they left JW and went to him.
Must have.
I just wish we knew. And then you think about it. Okay, if that happened, so what happened if they switched their money to Inoki? So Baba shows up 6 months later, opens up. Now that's going to take money away from New Japan. So was the Yakuza mad at Baba?
Maybe.
Or did Baba get in with who? That stuff interests me, knowing the inner workings. Because I was in the wrestling business, I know how cutthroat, just weird, crazy, and how crazy stuff happens that you wouldn't think would happen, and and it's just this one is like, and nobody ever talks about it.
Right.
It's just Inoki and Baba started up their own promotions.
Yeah, there's no inner workings of it, storyline.
Yeah, there's got to be. There's so much more to it that I'm sure a lot of people would like to know. It out there, the inner nerd, wrestling nerd, me love this stuff, and that's what hurts. I cannot stand is we have the worst preserved history of wrestling, and it just ain't out there to find.
Well, Q, you're doing your part to help that, brother. I got to say this.
No, it's not documented, and it's crazy, man. If we didn't have all these historians, J. Michael, I just lost his name. But anyway, him, Tim Dills, Horn, I always miss his name. Is it Hornbecker or Hornbreaker? Him, and former friend of everybody, Scott Till. I hate to say his name because he crapped on one of the best guys in the world, Ben Jordan.
Right.
I hate to bring it up, but he's helped save it. Even old Bo James, he's helping it. But there's so much lost that we never got, and would be so awesome if we could have more history saved. And it goes back to, it was treated as a business, and that you just keep going. You don't, you know what I'm saying? You don't preserve it. You ain't got time to preserve it. You're worried about your next house.
Yeah.
Next angle. Yeah. The next, and then when TV came along, we don't save TV. It's just, especially when the tapes, the film, not tapes, but the reels, they cost money. That's in the bottom line. We don't care. It's wrestling. This is a business. We're not going to mark out for ourselves.
Yep.
We're not keeping that, So it's awful that, music and entertainment, we're the worst to have preserved and stored and documented our history.
That's the truth.
And it kills me, especially when I go looking for this stuff. Like this New Japan stuff, it had so much effect on Japan history of wrestling. It changed the whole way it ran for 40 years. It's ran.
Yeah.
But there's no inner workings of how this happened, and it meant so much to the history of Japan wrestling, and we don't know anything about it.
So true. Yeah, man.
All this stuff. A lot of stuff. I would love to go deeper into some of this stuff, but you cannot find it anywhere. And it's sad, man. It really makes me sad that something that I love so much, you can't, just because the way the businesses ran. It didn't matter then, but nowadays it matters so much. It's heartbreaking, man. You really think, to me, it is.
Yeah, it's true, and you're making it even harder now that we know about it.
and what also nowadays it sucks too is it's hard to find the real stuff because people put stuff out there. It's so wrong.
Yeah.
And you have to, dig through it. It's like the Puerto Rico stuff. I didn't want to name the NWA office promotion there because they called it two names. I don't know what it was. I only found one thing that said its name, and it had two. They called it two different things.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what was it? Yeah. So and my thing is, did they get what kind of heat did Carlos and Joe Vica get? Because Puerto Rico was tiny. How much heat did they get for opening up opposition against NWA office?
Man, hard to tell on that.
That island's so small. You have so many towns on that island that you could have a full-time promotion.
Yeah.
How cutthroat did it get? I would love to know this. How bad did because man, and Puerto Ricans are crazy as it is down there.
No doubt.
And they killed Brody. Come on.
Right. Right.
So what kind of threats did Carlos and Joe Vica get? If they killed Brody in the 80s, what do you think they did in the 70s to Carlos and Joe Vica? I would love to know that stuff.
Seriously.
Man, there's got to be some wild stories of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't, and you must, any promotion, you come and run opposite and you're taking money away. So anybody, because you just hear stories about, you come around, especially in the 50s and 60s, and in the 70s, and of people running opposition, and death threats and shootings, stabbings. Do you hear the story about they were going to? They got together. I guess it was in that USA thing, the America in the 80s with the NWA, AWA. You know what I'm talking about? What's that? My brain just went.
The Super Clash, or
no. It was oh gosh, it was in 80. They did the first taping in Memphis. Oh, what was it called? USA something. I can't not believe my brain just went. Anyway, it was AWA, NWA, and some of the territories got together and they did a taping in Memphis. They did one up in the Northeast. Oh gosh, at the Meadowlands. What was that called? Oh my gosh. Well, I cannot believe mine just went blank. Somebody help me here. Oh gosh. It basically they were forming together.
Pro Wrestling USA.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Or they were talking about, they were in the bathroom talking about killing Vince McMahon. They were trying to get, they were trying, it was a bathroom. They were all in the bathroom at the same time, and they were talking about actually killing, because it was 85. I mean, he was just smacking everybody's butts.
Yeah.
And they come up this Person USA to stop him. And there, rumors, and you hear the stories that have been floating around for years, that they were in the bathroom and plotting. And a few of them were trying to get the other one on board to plot to kill Vince. Because they knew he was taking over everybody and just making, printing money. And, so, they were, and I heard that didn't last because Vern and Crockett and NW, they all couldn't get along.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think I don't think their plan was concrete enough. What they, it just, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in other words, back in the day, you go in and run somebody's territory, it was dangerous.
Definitely.
You didn't play around back then.
Yeah. Great show, brother. Great show. That was good. Enjoyed it. Always enjoy, this month in wrestling history, and January didn't disappoint, brother. So we thank you as always, man.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Q. Good job, buddy.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. And this has been
This Month in Wrestling History with Quinton Quarisma.
Thank y'all again for listening. We'll be right back to wrap things up on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Listen up, you bunch of slack-jawed flea market freeloaders. If you think you know Memphis wrestling, you don't know nothing till you've heard the Retro Wrestling Review podcast, brother. Every week they're talking the real stuff. Lawler Jarrett, PG-13, yeah, and even my Moondogs. Watch long stories from the road, interviews with folks who were in the thick of it, brother. The blood, the beer, and the bail money. It's all on the Wrestlecopia Podcast Network. Go to uswapodcast.com, or I'll come down there and I'll slap the taste out of your mouth.
The moondogs are howling, the moondogs are howling, the moondogs are vicious and mean. Tonight the moondogs are looking for trouble, and you can hear it in their scream. So stay out of this swamp, cause the full moon is shining big and bright, and you might run into a moondog and meet your big wife.
Oh, guys, one more awesome episode. Thank you so much, Quinton. Quinton does a great job. Y'all let him know. Go on the socials at GMBMPW, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X. Go on there and let Quinton know how much you enjoyed that. He puts a lot of time and effort into all of his shows, but he works so hard on those, and we greatly appreciate that. And can't thank him enough for all the cool things he's told us about during this month in wrestling history. All right, guys, one more thing today. Again, Captain's Corner, Portland Wrestling Expo 2, Saturday, February 21st, Holiday Inn, Portland Airport, 8439 Northeast Columbia Court, Portland, Oregon. Paul Ellering, Joey Jackson, Ken Patera, Jules Strongbow, Rip Rogers, The Godfather, so many stars. Y'all don't miss this opportunity to be at the Portland Wrestling Expo 2. All right, guys, that's it for today's show. Who we got next week? Check out them socials and you'll know very soon. Once again, for the host of This Month in Wrestling History, Quinton Quarisma, the Plastic Sheik Jared Street, and myself, this has been Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. We'll see y'all next time.
Don't forget,
we are live from the streets of a chilly New York City, but it is about to get very hot here in Manhattan. Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Mooney. A few minutes ago, it was a mob scene out here. Everyone braving the elements to be a part of Monday Night Raw. But now they're inside set for the action. Hey, wait a minute.
What?
Bobby Heenan,
I'm
What are you
going
doing?
in there.
No.
Oh, yes, I am.
You were replaced.
I was replaced.
Yes.
Who would replace me?
Rob Bartlett. You're not
I don't care about
supposed
Rob
to be in
Bartlett.
there.
This is Monday Night Raw, live from New York City,
That's
and
right.
I've got to be in there to host it.
No, you're not.
No, what do you mean, no?
Can't get in. I'm sorry.
I can't get in. I get in. I can buy a ticket.
No, there are no tickets left. It's sold out in there. They're jammed to the rafters.
Show me the press case so I can get through here.
I didn't make up the rules here. I didn't.
What do you mean you didn't make up the rules?
Who's on the outside? Who's on the inside? Rob Bartlett, that's him. And tonight, live, you'll hear the great matches. You'll see the Steiner brothers in tag team action, plus a very special interview with Razor Ramon. There's a great match. I can't wait to see this. Coco Beware versus Yokozuna. You know, the guy's got that diaper thing going right up there in the middle between the dead man's land and no man's land. And Macho! After Bartlett said that about Yokozuna, that's all I can think about right now. But also, it's Stevie and Demento. Ooh, my favorite, The Undertaker. Ooh. A series of them headed your way right here on Monday Night Raw.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
We'll see you next week. And until then, so long for now.
This has been a James Rock Street production.